Well, Bill de Blasio and his wife, what's her face? I'm going to look at her name. Shirlane McRae. They are separating. And I don't know how, if that crazy couple, if they couldn't keep it together, how will any of us? We have the tragic marital story of Bill de Blasio and Shirlane McRae. And if those two crazy kids can't make it, can any of us? Truly? So you remember that Bill de Blasio is a very tall, Frankenstein-esque monster-looking, weird old dude who killed a groundhog. He was also a communist mayor of New York. And you remember that his wife, Shirlane McRae, is a political radical. They married in 1994, but now things have changed, folks. This romantic story is at an end. And I think we should all shed a tear for Bill de Blasio. I mean, that dude's had a rough couple of years, right? He was mayor of New York, and then overwhelmingly people hated his guts. And then he tried to run for president, and people overwhelmingly hated his guts. And then he thought about running for Congress, and people overwhelmingly hated his guts. And now it turns out that his wife might overwhelmingly hate his guts, as it turns out. So I have to tell you the rest of this tragic and heartbreaking and, truly just devastating story about Bill de Blasio and Shirlane McRae, a beautiful, beautiful couple who just, their relationship just didn't last the test of time. Quote, this is from the New York Times. About 2 months ago, another stale Saturday night of binge-watching TV at their Brooklyn home, Bill de Blasio and Shirlane McRae surprised themselves. It began with an offhand remark. Why aren't you lovey-dovey anymore? Mr. de Blasio, the former New York City mayor, asked, according to Miss McRae, his wife. It moved quickly, both said, into the sort of urgently searching dialogue that had been necessary for years but avoided until that moment. A full accounting of their relationship, what they wanted, what they were not getting. So, first of all, why aren't you lovey-dovey anymore is Bill de Blasio a dude? I don't know. That's a weird thing to say to your wife. Why aren't you lovey-dovey anymore? Okay, anyway. I can't imagine why Shirlane McRae is off the bandwagon. She says, you can't fake it. I do love that they went to the New York Times to tell this amazing story. So most people, if they had this going on in their lives, they would kind of, keep it under wraps and live their life. Not de Blasio and Shirlane McRae. They're like, man, straight to the New York Times. Do we have a tale to tell? You can feel when things are off, Mr. de Blasio said, and you don't want to live that way. They made their decision that night. Mr. de Blasio and Miss McRae are separating. They are not planning to divorce, they said, but they will date other people. They will continue to share the Park Slope townhouse where they raised their 2 children now in their 20s, the vinyl-sided hub of a thoroughly modern political family whose mixed-race symbolism helped send a spindly progressive long shot to City Hall. As with much about their marriage, its strain is imbued with civic resonance, a decade after the pair became what was then the most significant and dissected biracial couple in American politics. As with much about their marriage, they see lessons for others, even in its tumult, both for workaday couples negotiating the challenges of growing old together and for the small subset who expose themselves to the uncommon glare of public scrutiny. I love this. So their marriage fails, and they're banging others, and their immediate response is, we should lecture everyone else about how marriage should work. I gotta love progressives, man. It's like they set themselves on fire, and they're like, let me lecture you about fire safety. I have some words about asbestos. And what the hell is wrong with you people? De Blasio said, I can look back now and say, here were these inflection points where we should have been saying something to each other. And I think one of the things I should have said more is, are you happy? What will make you happy? What's missing in your life? You never asked your wife, are you happy or what will make you happy? Like, these are things that never... It is easy to forget now. After 2 uneven terms, a calamitous 2020 presidential bid, a decade of slashing tabloid headlines by turns, earned and gratuitous, precisely because what it felt like to see Mr. de Blasio and Miss McRae step into power. They were visually, viscerally distinctive. A living testament, supporters said, to the breadth and promise of New York. I love when, again, the New York Times is making them into the model couple. Oh my God, you know what? They're so amazing because he was white and she was black, and that's just absolute wow. Just wow, because that's never happened anytime in modern American history. By the way, polls say that 94% of Americans are totally cool with interracial marriage and don't care. But it was like amazing. Over a nearly 3-hour interview. Oh man, these people would be, can you imagine having these people to your dinner party? These are the most insufferable people on planet Earth. Giant lurch commie and his radical racial activist wife show up to tell you about how they're banging others. Woo, for 3 hours. That's a dinner coming at you. When you are running a business, your employees can create all sorts of interesting situations, as the White House is finding out right now. This is why you need to talk to Bambi. Bambi gives you access to your own dedicated HR manager starting at just $99 per month. This person is available to you by phone, email, and real-time chat. They'll help you run employee onboardings, terminations, and performance reviews. With Bambi's HR autopilot feature, you can automate important HR practices like setting policies, employee training, and feedback procedures as well. All of Bambi's HR managers are based in the United States and can support the nuances across all 50 states. HR managers can easily cost $80 grand per year. Bambi starts at just $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today. See how much Bambi can take off of your plate. Head over to Bambi.com right now. Type Ben Shapiro under podcast when you sign up. It's spelled BAMBEE.com, Bambi.com. Type in Ben Shapiro. If you run a company, probably haven't thought about HR more as much as you need to. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is you start a company, you're mostly worried about just getting product out the door, making sure the trains run on time. But if you ignore HR, it's your biggest liability. Head on over to Bambi.com right now. Clean up that liability. Type Ben Shapiro under podcast when you sign up. Again, it's BAMBE.com. Type in Ben Shapiro to get started. Let's talk about the thing that keeps you sane. So one of the things that keeps you sane in life is connection with God. It's one of the things that keeps me sane in life. There's a lot going on in my life. There's a lot going on in the world. And it's that connection with God that means a lot to me, which is why I pray 3 times a day. But if you're looking to up your game, regardless of religion, maybe you should check out Hallow. Hallow is an incredible app that offers a unique approach to prayer and meditation. Unlike other meditation apps, Hallow is tailored specifically for people of faith to deepen their relationship with God. The Hallow app is filled with studies, meditations, and reflections rooted in Judeo-Christian prayer practices. There are a lot of Christian employees who work here at Daily Wire who have been using Hallow, and it means a lot to them. You can pray alongside Mark Wahlberg, Jonathan Rumi, who portrays Jesus on The Chosen, even some world-class athletes. You can access the #1 Christian podcast, The Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, on Hallow. Hallow helps you maintain that daily prayer routine. With features like progress tracking and streaks, you can stay motivated and make prayer a regular part of your daily routine. Set prayer reminders, invite others to pray with you, track your progress along the way. It is super important to set time aside for God, since God is spending all of his time on you. So if you're looking to deepen that relationship with God, try Hallow for 3 months free at hallow.com/Shapiro. That's hallow.com/Shapiro. Over a nearly 3-hour interview during which they cupped hands sporadically and once high-fived in agreement. Hot. Mr. deblasio, 62, and Miss McRae, 68, were alternate 62 and 68, and you couldn't hold it together? Were you so wildly attractive at 62 and 60? Like, at that point, just play out the string, my friends. 62 and 68. Like, Bill de Blasio is going to be hot on that Tinder market. De Blasio, 62, and Miss McRae, 68, were alternatively wistful and upbeat, self-critical, and defiant. Rather than issue a terse joint statement to announce what they called a trial separation, the carefully worded fate of so many political marriages before theirs, the two suggested they wanted to get considerably more off their chests. Oh, they're so obnoxious. Instead of just being like, they're not even divorcing, by the way. They could have just done what they did. Instead, they're like, we won't even do a statement. We will call up our New York Times reporter and do a 3-hour interview. They concluded, Mr. de Blasio more forcefully than Miss McRae, that their marriage would not have reached this place if he had never been mayor, as grateful as they said they were for the experience and as proud as they remain of their work. They cited the COVID crisis as an all-consuming external shock that suppressed more probing discussions of what their post-City Hall lives might look like. It made me emotionally very needy, he said, and we were not as connected. I think that he was very annoying is the impression I get. You know how I know that? Because he's been a public figure for a long time, and he's super annoying. Yet they also clocked a shift in their relationship a year earlier, they said, coinciding roughly with the presidential run, Miss McRae viewed with deep skepticism. Well, then she was the realist. I thought it was kind of a distraction, she said. Kind of true, he said. Point for Shirlane. Asked how it felt when de Blasio proceeded anyway, she said she had to be supportive. That's part of the difficulty of being a package, she said. Asked what she was seeking from this new formulation, she suggested she might enjoy the non-glow of being with a non-public figure. I just want to have fun, she said, adding, as Mr. de Blasio turned to her, it's not that we haven't had fun. Thank you, honey, he said. There's a certain weight, she said, that goes with being with Mr. Mayor. Oh, my God. These people. By the way, there were some red flags here, I will note. Quote, while Mr. de Blasio said they had become so secure in their marriage, he had little reason to doubt its strength, unwelcome thoughts could creep in. One of them, both said, involved their own parents' difficult marriages. Another was about Miss McRae. For the guy who took a chance on a woman who's an out lesbian and wrote an article called I Am a Lesbian, Mr. de Blasio said, there was a part of me that would at times say, is this a ticking time bomb? Is this something you're going to regret later on? So I always lived with that stuff. Oh, well, yeah, oh. But they're happier now, the New York Times assures us. They're both happier now than they have been in some time, they said, taking care to project a practiced warmth inside their kitchen, where Mr. de Blasio at one point wiped something from her face. Oh, man. Oh, wiped something from her face. Oof. A few weeks after their impromptu session, amid that Saturday night of television, they exchanged written messages outlining what we felt about the moment. What's cool, what's not cool, whatever else. One of the things we're saying to the world is we don't need to possess each other, he added. He quoted 2 favorite phrases of Miss McRae's. Labels put people in boxes, and those boxes are shaped like coffins. And I never want to be stuck. and one prized by his brother, a Tibetan Buddhist. Avoid attachments. So they're going to share a home, and it's going to be super awkward. And yeah, that's going to be terrible. And thank you guys for sharing. And your marriage sounds terrible. And if you could go away, that'd be unbelievable. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into the mailbag. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro. Check out for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.